So we just heard that the outlook for the A-share market in China is looking pretty positive. You expect another positive year. What are going to be the catalysts?
Well, after a strong 2025, it's really difficult not to be optimistic. So we have the earning growth, we have the valuation game, and also we're really looking for some of the policy tailwinds, given it is the first year of the 15th five-year plan.
That's right. Well, they want to boost consumption, obviously, as the main driver. Is that something you see they have the policy tools to do? How?
A couple of things, right? So obviously, there's a vibrant part of the economy, the high-end manufacturing, the AI-related, many of those renewable energies. But what you and I were talking about is the broader base sort of growth, which consumption will be a key. We have been suggesting for the government, hopefully the two sessions will give us something, whether they will put a nominal GDP growth target, which implies the price and the growth, or a target for consumption as a percentage of GDP. Those targets will be very helpful to set the goal.
Yeah, that's something I've heard quite a bit about. I mean, Stephen Roach talked to me about that, like saying they should maybe set it at 50% of GDP or something like that. Do you think the actual target, like GDP, they always say they set a target at the National People's Congress. Do you think setting a hard and fast target would spur the kind of numbers that they want?
I would think so. I think once you can quantify, you can improve.
Yeah.
So I think percentage of consumption of the GDP is one sort of measures a lot of people are talking about. But we discussed, as I alluded to earlier, have a nominal GDP growth, not the real GDP growth.
Yeah.
So that means you put together along with the price movement. That would be also an encouraging way to look at it.
Let's go back to the markets and see kind of your projections. You were looking at the MSCI China hitting 100. It's about 87 before the market opened today, implying about a 15% upside. Also, the CSI 300 is about, as David was just mentioning, it's about 22% off its 2007 all-time high. Are we going to start testing that because of the gains that you're looking at?
Well, many markets have tested and broke last year, so definitely no reason for China not to. So 15%, that's a reasonable one. We estimate roughly about 10% EPS growth with a bit of a valuation reweighting, but the scenario can be even more positive.
Okay. What are going to be the catalysts? Because AI enthusiasm has been a big driver of IPOs in Hong Kong, but also in the A-share market. Is it a bubble, though? What are the risks of a bubble?
Sure. I think a couple of things. If you talk about the momentum for China, you're here at the conference, you just see feel the vibes, right? So we have record attendees, many of them from Europe and the US. They are the big investors. So besides all the points we have discussed, the diversification needs from global investor, plus the policy expectation, given it's the first year of 15th five-year plan, will be the two new catalysts for China equities market.
How important will anti-involution be in 2026 to stop the race to the bottom in key industries? They've gained market share in EVs, in battery, in solar. There's a bit of a race to the bottom as well in the AI plays. There's no profitability forecasted right now. So how important will the campaigns of anti-involution to stop those races to the bottom, to stop the price wars, to improve corporate profitability?
Sure. I think the narrative has been very clear since last year. I think this year, investors expect to see some results. And also, the other side of the coin is when you have oversupply, also implies weaker demand. So having that stimulus for consumption and then boost up the demand will be another side of the equation. So implement and then get those supply side story for anti-evolutions, but at the same time really boost the demand and then get the consumption growing.
What does that mean for the inflation outlook? Can we end more than 3 years of factory gate deflation this year, or is that going to be pretty much pushed to next year? Well, there's a lag effect to pricing power.
Yeah, agree. I think some of the data seems already seeing, so we're at the tipping point, so the price is getting a positive momentum. We hope to see some of those consistency months after months, and plus some of the policy tailwind. Because a lot of them is the consumer and the investors' behavior, right? Once the expectation changes, you're sort of a self-fulfilling to get the price on the upward trend.
Do you think it's self-fulfilling? Because again, I think households are still pretty reluctant to spend on big ticket items when their household paper wealth has been diminished so much by the property meltdown. Are there going to be, maybe out of MPC or other policy tools that can be employed to pretty much put a floor on the property market?
Right. Well, sort of a sentiment it's a funny thing, right? So it can accumulate and it come to a turning point and then it goes the other way. So I think besides the point you mentioned about the property market, what is really driving the potential positive sentiment is really the equity market performance. So if you look at the U.S., so one of the key performing asset price is the equities market. So that sort of leads to and fuels the consumption and also the confidence. I think China is on the right path. China just need to have a few more quarter and then potentially years of that consistent positive performance from equity market.
How big a theme will be the stocks that are really focused on the going abroad theme? How important will that be? Because it seems as though we're seeing where America is trying to attract investment into the United States. It's sort of created an opening for China to invest elsewhere in the world, building factories and creating jobs around the world. How much of a strong theme will those going abroad stocks be?
It is very important. I think that's one of our key research themes. It also, in many ways, it would even out some of the tension between U.S. and China in particular. Just imagine if BYD is allowed to open factories in the U.S. So that would balance out sort of the trade deficit, creates job for U.S. and also, bring some of the capacities away from China into a major market for the company. So in many ways, it's a win-win. So
that's a big ask, though, for BYD in the United States. Even just Europe and China have finally found an agreement on minimum pricing for EVs in the EU. But the U.S. seems like it's going to be a far-off goal for many Chinese companies. Wouldn't you agree?
It's up to Washington.
Yeah.
I think in many ways, the Chinese corporates is willing. Chinese government is flexible. It makes economic sense, but if the narrative shifts, so maybe it's from the April summit, right, between Xi and Trump.
Yeah.
And those are the things, because Trump always asks countries to invest into the U.S. Why not China?